Before we get to that, let me just take one step back, because I do think the stuff you were doing before that is interesting too, and studying things that are addictive that people are struggling with all over America right now. Many of the listeners to the show are going to be interested in this. Things like alcohol, caffeine, or nicotine, and in addition to some of the other drugs you mentioned. So just before we get into the psychedelics, do you have a couple words on which of those is the most addictive and sort of the most pernicious, like the toughest one to attack? And this, like, whatever you do, don't take that first cigarette versus the first drink or the first, I don't know. I'm just curious in your overall thoughts of addictive properties.
Yeah. Let's see. There's no simple answer to that, because the probability that someone is going to become dependent depends on the setting, context, and the availability of the compound. So the drug that more people in the world are dependent on, and many would object to using the word addicted to, is caffeine. But it's the world's most widely used mood-altering drug, and it turns out that it does produce physical and psychological dependence if you use it daily at any kind of dose above a pretty small cup of coffee. It's very likely you have developed low-level physical dependence, and what the pickup, the sense of a wakefulness that occurs in the morning, is in part due to suppression of low-grade withdrawal symptoms that you have, fatigue or tiredness or kind of muzzy-headedness, being suppressed by that morning cup of coffee. And so in that sense, in a culture in which caffeine is freely available, people are going to much more likely become dependent on that. And that actually, I ended up doing a lot of research on caffeine because it was kind of a model system for understanding how drugs come to capture and control behavior. And actually, at the time that we did that, interestingly, the soft drink companies were saying that they were adding caffeine as a flavor enhancer. And that was the only reason they did it. And that story, in retrospect, looks very much like what the cigarette industry was claiming about nicotine. Oh, no, nicotine's a flavor additive. And it's not. It's addictive. Caffeine is. It's much lesser so. But if you really want to talk about kind of perniciousness, then, we have the opiate crisis to look at right now. It's very hard to back out of that. Cigarette smoking is very addictive when available culturally, as it has been. The stimulants, cocaine, and those sorts of drugs have a relatively high addiction potential. Many of the sedative hypnotics and sleeping medications and sedatives also.
What's a sedative hypnotic?
Like in the old days, it was barbiturates. But even some of the popular sleeping medications, they're not highly addictive in the sense that there's social degradation that goes along with it. But one can easily become dependent on those drugs. And these are also the anxiolytics, the anxiety reducing drugs. So things like Valium, diazepam, and those sorts of things. And people can easily get dependent on that with physical dependence, and it can be very, very difficult to get off of them, as it can be.
I think what you said about
the
morning cup of coffee is very interesting. So when you feel better drinking that coffee, it may just be you suppressing your withdrawal symptoms, not an actual pick-me-up. Like if you could break the habit, you might feel as good as you feel post that cup of coffee every morning without that cup of coffee.
Yes, that's exactly right. And it doesn't mean that caffeine. So if you're caffeine naive, caffeine, even low doses of caffeine, will have a stimulant effect, but your body adapts to that very quickly. One of the interesting things that we showed in the course of that research is that caffeine is behaviorally active at doses far lower than anyone ever knew previously. So a cup of coffee, now I'm not talking about a big Starbucks cup of coffee, I'm talking about a 6-ounce cup of coffee, usually delivers about 100 milligrams of caffeine. And many people can detect the effects of caffeine at doses of less than 20 milligrams, and many 10 or less milligrams. So that's a couple of sips of coffee can produce reliable, detectable, subjective effects. And these are really rigorous blinded studies. So we know this to be the case. But it was actually on the basis of people not having studied those lower thresholds before that the soft drink companies could claim, this is below the behaviorally active range. And since then, they've kind of fessed up. They now label how much caffeine is in their product. But at the time, they were denying any physiological effect of importance. But it turns out we certainly now understand that soft drinks, caffeinated soft drinks, if you take a couple of them a day, you're kind of now in the range of developing physical dependence on them. And
it's amazing how many drugs surround us. The soft drinks and the coffee, not to mention the cigarettes and the alcohol everywhere, and the people taking the sleeping pills and then the coffee to wake themselves up and so on. All these drugs really not that great for you. And yet here's this little class of drugs over here that's been so demonized, the drugs that you've been studying that we're not allowed to touch. You're not even allowed to research them. That appear to be revolutionary in attacking major mental health challenges like depression and anxiety and beyond. So it's crazy how our medical system works, right? Like they're dumping the more caffeine into the sodas, but you're not even allowed to look into psilocybin. Don't you touch that because people could get hurt. Okay, that's America. What's your gift going to be this Valentine's Day? How about taking 10 or 15 years off your appearance with Genucel Skincare and their most popular package? And right now, every most popular package, all their best stuff, is 70% off, 70, and includes the next breakthrough in skincare technology, Genucel's probiotic moisturizer, absolutely free. These super ingredients found in yogurt can have the same nourishing benefits and goodness for your skin, right? You eat the yogurt, you get the probiotic, but you can do this on your skin too with probiotic extracts that can target bad bacteria on the surface of your skin to restore balance to your skin's microbiome for a noticeably clearer complexion and visibly younger appearance. See those fine lines, wrinkles, dark spots, sagging jawline, even bags and puffiness visibly disappear right before your eyes thanks to Genucel. Plus, with its immediate effects product, see results in under 12 hours guaranteed or your money back. Go to Genucel.com/MK60 right now. And for the first time ever, every order at Genucel.com from now through Valentine's Day will include a beauty box with two luxury gifts for free. Order now, 2 weeks only. Genucel.com/MK60, GENUCEL.com/MK60. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.